All right. Well, your question is actually pretty simple. So when are you getting your baby goats?
Probably late April, early May,
Okay.
depending on the breeder. That's the time frame she gave us. So she told us we can take them home as early as 2 weeks, and she takes them away from their mothers immediately, and she bottle feeds them so she can sell them quite young. So my understanding is that we'll have to continue bottle feeding them for at least a few weeks till they're about a month old. I know we'll have 24/7 access to hay as well, but I just kind of wanted to talk about the basics of bottle feeding.
Did the breeder tell you they only need to be bottle fed for a month?
No, I'm just kind of being very general here. I mean, I have my notes elsewhere.
Okay, good.
Actually, she hasn't given us a whole lot of information.
So the bottle babies, we usually bottle feed for at least 4 months.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
if you stop at a month, you're going to have some really sick kids.
Got it.
There are people out there who don't really care about their kids. They just want to get them sold and they say whatever they need to say to get them sold. And
Sure.
I have people calling me with 3 or 4 week old kids that are 90% dead because they were just, pulled off mom. And what breed are they going to be?
Nigerian dwarf.
So they need milk at a minimum until they weigh at least 20 pounds. They should get 20% of their body weight in milk. Let me give you a link to the bottle feeding article that it has all of the information in it. So this is an article about bottle feeding and there's a chart in there. Initially, I didn't want to have any duplication of stuff between courses because I didn't want people to say, oh, there's a lot of duplications. But then I realized, well, you know what? Some of this stuff really belongs in more than one course. I know in the kidding course, like all of this is in the kidding course, but if you're just now buying your first goats, I'm sure you haven't bought the kidding course yet because you don't need it.
Correct. I was going to hold off for a little while on that.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that'll give you like all of the amounts and everything. And the only other thing is that I know it's tempting to keep them in the house with you, but if you do, they're very, very sad when you put them in the barn.
So does
So,
that mean you should feed them in the barn?
oh yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah. When I had a teenage daughter, every year she thought she had to have baby goats in her bed, literally sleeping with her bed.
Well, our dog might have an issue with that anyway, so
Yeah.
we won't be
So
doing that, but
yeah, so she had baby goats in there every year. And every year when she would put them outside, we had to listen to the screaming.
okay, that's great to know. So the breeder said, we can take them home as early as 2 weeks. I think we probably want to, just so we're eager, but hopefully it won't be very, very cold here in late April.
Oh, that'll be fine. Where are you?
So we're in Saratoga County. So it's in the 30s right now, but we've had a few 60-degree days already, but it's, this time of year it fluctuates so
You
much.
just never know.
Yeah, they'll be fine. I assume they're in the barn at your breeders, so they're fine. We used to have kids when it was below 0 and they were fine.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
yeah, no,
Okay.
it probably won't get
Yeah.
unlikely.
Okay.
Yeah, and they don't need a heat lamp either. At 2 weeks, they don't need a heat lamp.
Great. We weren't planning on it. The shelter where they're going to be living, it's enclosed, it has good ventilation, it's not heated, but it's, draft free. And then there is a barn next to it, a big barn. It's kind of like our workshop, garden center, everything. And that is heated. I don't know if it would make sense to feed them in there, or does it matter? Should I just feed them in their shelter?
Just feed them in their shelter.
Okay.
So if she's been bottle feeding them from birth, by the time you get them, they should be grabbing the nipple and sucking it down without doing anything. After 2 weeks of bottle feeding, they should be standing on the ground. You just put the bottle in front of them and they grab it and start sucking.
Great.
So you don't need to take them anywhere.
Should we be weighing them pretty regularly so we can base how much we feed them on how much they weigh?
They will get to 32 ounces fairly quickly, and 32 ounces is where you max out. The reason you weigh dam raised kids is because you can't see how much they're getting. But with the bottle babies, it's not as important. Like, I think you should definitely weigh them when you bring them home. You don't have to do it every day, like maybe every few days, just so that you've got a baseline. If anything seems off or whatever, you can look at that and go, oh my gosh, they haven't gained any weight since they got here. What's wrong?
So I'm reading about different like homemade formulas you can feed them. Is that something you recommend, or?
No, absolutely, positively not.
Good to know.
Don't understand why people think that they need to make a formula. Like, milk is for babies, and cows are so close to goats. It's fine to give them cow's milk. If you want to give them a goat milk replacer, you can do that. There are people like on Facebook and stuff who have insanely strong opinions. I know a college professor who got kicked out of a group because she said that milk replacer would be fine. And the thing is, if you look in the textbooks, it becomes apparent pretty quickly. Like if a kid is on milk replacer and it dies, it's probably because somebody mixed it up incorrectly. Milk replacer is not poisonous, but you have to pay attention to what you're doing. And so if you mix it up incorrectly, yes, that can kill a kid. And the thing about those formulas is that they're garbage. Somebody just emailed me with this like yesterday, and she's like, I've been feeding them a formula of whole milk, evaporated milk, and buttermilk. All right, if you were making the buttermilk on your farm from fresh milk and cultures and everything, awesome. I got no complaints. But if you're buying buttermilk at the store, read the ingredients. It is very likely that it is just a concoction of chemicals that make it look and taste like buttermilk. It's not fermented. There's nothing in it that is helpful. And actually there are people who will feed like homemade yogurt, which again, we're talking like, there's live cultures in it because you just made it, right?
Right.
Because a lot of what you buy in the store does not have live cultures in it. And evaporated milk is exactly as the name sounds. 60% of the water has been boiled off of it. This is like incorrectly mixing the formula. This is like incorrectly mixing the milk replacer. If you give evaporated milk to a kid, there's not enough water in it. 60% of it's been boiled off, and then it has been heated even more to can it so that it can sit at room temperature without spoiling. So this is like the most processed milk you can buy.
Right.
And like, if you want to use it as a milk replacer, you're supposed to mix a can of it with a can and a half of water. And
Right.
nobody tells you that.
Wow.
Like those formulas are just so unbelievably unhealthy for baby goats. It just upsets me to no end when
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Well, because that's exactly, what I had read. Like that's one of the first things that pops up. So just like straight up cow's milk is what you would suggest.
yeah, whatever's easiest for you. We haven't bought milk at the store in 20 years. So for us, it's like there's nothing easier or more challenging. Like, if we're at the grocery store, if we needed milk, if we were at the grocery store, we'll buy cow's milk. If we're at the farm store, we'll buy milk replacer. We've used both and had the same results with both. We did have a kid die on milk replacer, and it was because my daughter made it incorrectly. She did not put enough water in it. So I think all these people who are like, milk replacer kills babies. I mean, it was an accident, right? Of course they don't know that they mixed it up incorrectly and caused an intestinal blockage because they didn't put enough water in it.
Yeah. So from what I recall, you suggest that they also should have access to hay 24/7 during this period when they're milking, kind of like from day one, just so they can start getting accustomed to it. Is that right?
Yeah, just put it out there. Hopefully she's got them all in a pen with other kids, and they will see other kids eating hay before they come to you, and they'll start nibbling on it. When kids are raised by mom, they start eating within days of birth because they're just imitating her. So if you get a couple of kids though, they don't have role models. It's like, and that was what we saw all the time when my daughter was always bringing them into the house, is that some of them wouldn't start eating until they were close to a month old because they didn't have a role model. So it was like you had to put them outside with other goats.
Okay, great. Well, this is really helpful. Thank you. I appreciate this.
You're welcome.